Hunter will check us out.
Good evening. It is 5:31, so we're going to begin our meeting. We always start out with public comments. Are there any public comments? There being none, I'll call this meeting to order. Our students aren't back yet. They'll be back on Monday. So for invocation will be done by Miss Angela Person West and the flag salute by Miss Temple.
Okay.
Oh, I don't have to stand up, do
No.
Invocation.
Let's bow our heads real quick. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day that you have given us. We thank you for our time, efforts, and talents that we have to share with each of the over 8,000 students that we have in the North Little Rock School District. Open up our hearts to let everything flow from love and understanding to each child. And dear Heavenly Father, bless the administration and guide and go with each and every one of them. And dear Heavenly Father, put a special blessing upon our superintendent as he guides the 1,500 employees and over 8,000 students in the North Little Rock School District. And Heavenly Father, make sure that the Chiefs have a good year. Amen.
Nice twist.
Nice.
You should have said Kansas City Chiefs.
Kansas City Chiefs.
Pledge allegiance to
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Miss West, Miss Temple, are your parents available?
Nah.
All righty, we're down to the vision and mission statement. Miss McLean, would you read those for me?
Yes. Vision statement, world-class schools for world-class students. Mission statement, the North Little Rock School District and the community will provide for achievement, accountability, acceptance, and the necessary assets in the pursuit of each student's educational success.
Thank you. Roll call, Ms. Colquitt.
Dr. Redis.
Here.
Mrs. Williams. Ms. Person West.
Present.
Mrs. Temple.
Here.
Mrs. Wacom.
Here.
Mrs. McLean.
Here.
Mr. Steele.
Here.
We are down to item 6.1, special recognition by Mr. Dustin Barnes.
Good evening, everyone. The safety of our students and staff is our top priority in the North Little Rock School District. After the Board of Education approved the superintendent's proposal to reorganize the Safety Services Department, Chief Hayward Finks, Director of Safety Services, hit the ground running to build the department and to put the right people in place to ensure the safety of our students and staff. This summer, members of the Safety Services Department have been in professional development sessions and some have led these presentations at the professional development sessions for our administrative staff. Tonight, we will honor those presenters. Sergeant Chauncey Sims, one of our school resource officers, Chief Hayward Finks, Director of Safety Services, and Mr. Vincent Eubanks, Crisis Intervention Technician. Some of the topics that these individuals have presented on: safe talk, mental health, crisis planning, active shooter training, Raptor and Open Gate training, Stop It, and certified restraint training.
I just quickly want to recognize these three leaders, Chief Sergeant Sims and Mr. Eubanks have done at our our Leadership Institute over the past couple weeks. There's a lot of buzz around safety and security, and I just want to recognize these three leaders for their commitment to safety and security because their leadership is making a difference. And I think they owe a big round of applause for what they're doing and what they plan to do in our school district.
Question for Chief Finks, Madam President. Yes. Is this your first award since you've been a civilian? This is. Congratulations.
All righty. We're down to number 7, executive closed session. Please join me in executive closed session to discuss employment, appointment, promotion, or resignation of an employee. to item number 8.1, board member involvement. I know, right?
We were all there.
It's been a long week.
Who wants to start?
Well, I'll just say I thoroughly enjoyed the opportunity. I wish that I could have went today, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. So to the point that my granddaughter, because she had to tag along with me, because her mom was teaching, and so she had to do her professional development. She knows Dr. Pelusi's speech by heart. She's practiced it. She went over it because her mom was like, where'd you get that from? Well, that's what he said at the other school. And and thank you for being a part of the North Little Rock School District. I went, okay, baby, you can get up and do the speech.
Stand in a moment's notice.
She can stand in
I
for
love
you.
it. I love it.
We start on this end?
Well, I got a little different involvement, and that is I think most people disappointment in the legislative session, which I was a part of. They did not take up teacher raises. I know everyone here is a big advocate for teachers. And talking with several of the legislators, though, I genuinely got to feel that they felt this was such a major issue that they didn't want to deal with it in a 3-day special session, but to deal with it in January during the regular legislative session so they can really go back, hear from their constituents back home, and really give it a serious look. So in a 3-day session, I just don't see. Of course, I didn't necessarily, because my heart is with the teachers, and that's what I wanted to see. But I think it will be addressed. If it happens or not, a lot of that's going to depend on how hard we advocate. But it's something that will be addressed. Also, something that came out of the session that's good is a $50 million grant program. I think you and I talked about that a while ago. And it should be up and going real soon. They are working on the parameters of that, how it's going to be dispersed. So Chief Finks, I will have some additional resources to our school district. But overall, education was a priority. One of the things I think if any teachers are watching and as you communicate with your fellow educators throughout the state, that I didn't hear enough of is, we're dealing with a $1.5 billion surplus. We would not have a $1.5 billion surplus if it were not for teachers around the state. Education is the most important issue we deal with, but however, education is also an economic engine. And North Little Rock is not unlike many other cities around Arkansas. North Little Rock School District is the largest employer in North Little Rock. Many other cities can say that their school district are the largest employer. And I think when we saw the number of new teachers, I think you can feel that. Yes. Where a lot of them, if they don't live here already, are going to move here and spend resources here. So education is also an economic engine. Thank you.
Along with, we had an opportunity to visit all the elementary schools, middle school, high school, and I thoroughly enjoyed that and meeting and talking with everyone. And working with Representative Jamie Scott's office, we were able to provide Amboy Elementary 100 backpacks. And they've been delivered today, and whoever needs one could go to the office and grab one. It was a couple of girls that were in the office that are brand new to the state, well, to the country rather, and so they were able to get them a backpack, and they were very excited because the lady told me they didn't have anything as far as supplies, so I was really excited to see that, and I was excited to see the turnout for open house too, because open house night matters to you, your child, and also to your teacher. So thank you, parents, for that.
Piggybacking on backpacks, a high school student, Alden Lee, donated backpacks, collected backpacks and backpack supplies for students at Ridge Road for her community service.
Cool.
And so that was really neat to see one of our own getting involved to help our own children, younger children. So that was really neat. I too attended every and any school open house orientation and tour with Dr. Paluski. So it was really good to see everyone and chit chat with everyone.
I also went to all the elementary schools and the secondary schools with Dr. Paluski and others here on the board, and it was very exciting to see a lot of these younger people that we've hired on and that we've had on, and you can just see all the enthusiasm of everyone, no matter what age, and it got me excited. I mean, I still remember the beginning of school and the excitement that you get and the energy that you feel. And also at open house, there were so many parents coming. I mean, it was like everybody's out. And so I was happy to see that also.
Dr. B?
There we go. Okay. I'm going to go fast. July 23rd, 26th, many of our board members, we attended the Southern Regional Leadership Conference in New Orleans. I thought that was great, not only team building, but the professional development. On 7/27, I had the opportunity to be the keynote speaker at the Arkansas Environmental Literacy and Outdoor Education Conference, promoting the importance of environmental literacy and outdoor education and how that relates to our E for the Future model. We had a wonderful Leadership Institute on the 20th and 21st, and the 27th and 28th. I was recognized by Chief and others on our leadership meeting. On the 3rd of August is now back to our monthly mayor meetings, in which we meet with mayor and his top cabinet with the school superintendent. On August the 4th, I attended the Governor's Mansion to honor Ms. Salon Capri, the Arkansas Teacher of the Year finalist. She's not only the North Little Rock School District Teacher of the Year, but she's a finalist, and we're so proud. We honored her today. We were out there at the 7th and 8th grade, so very, very proud of her. Attended the FY luncheon last Friday at the North Little Rock Chamber. On the 10th, Ms. Hatch and I had the opportunity to connect with the Arkansas Museum of Fine Arts. Ms. Hatch and I also attended the ADE meeting for Ready for Industry event at ADE. Also on the 9th, or on the 8/15th, we hosted, under Jacob Smith's leadership, a partnership with Harding University to support our new curriculum division. So thank you, Mr. Smith, for your leadership. New teacher luncheon that many of us attended on 8/15. We have, to both of your points, we have hired 106 new teachers this year, and they were very exciting, and I think that's an awesome opportunity. Also, let's see, I was invited, I did a Facebook interview for Community Connections at Lehman Library about kicking off this school year, and as many of our board members said, we did a whirlwind tour of school visits. And I will tell you that it is just so exciting. I know it's 15 times, and probably my favorite, not my favorite part, but I was in the middle of a speech and forgot that I was going to say I forgot again.
Metal detector on steroids.
and she filled it in right for me. So I love the collaboration and the communication, and I thank this Board of Education for selecting me as a superintendent, and I appreciate coming together. We're off to a fabulous start. As I just briefed you on, we have 7 vacancies right now in teachers, and we have 3 in drivers and 3 in nutrition. That is an awesome place to be with Monday of opening schools, and I applaud Dr. Hooper and her leadership to keep everything moving. That says a lot. And we're knocking on the door to about 8,300 students in our enrollment, which is up as well, and I think we're all excited. The last I just want to end with, I do welcome our Board of Education members. I know you were with us this week. I invite you at 5:30 on Monday morning. We will all be down at Transportation. All the executive team is going to be there. We're all going to be on buses Monday morning. So if you would like to rise and shine with us and join us, we welcome
wish you all
that.
a very good morning right now.
And be
okay?
safe.
Be safe. Let us know how it goes.
Thank you,
I
Madam
won't
President.
be there. I won't be there at 5:30.
Be safe. We're down to, is there any CPPC and LPPC reports?
There's no report this time, Madam President.
All right, moving right along. I like that. Number 10, informational items, 2021-2022 North Little Rock School District Assessment Report.
Yep, Madam President and members of our Board of Education, our information overview, as we've said, that once we had our testing data ready to present, that we would bring that for you. So my two colleagues, Mrs. McNulty, our new Coordinator of Accountability Assessment and Research and Data Management, I just threw research in there, and data management, and Dr. Sharisa White, our Executive Director of Curriculum Innovation and Design, are going to give us a very high-level overview. I just want to start with that. There's a lot of data here. We're not going to go through every piece of that. It is here for you. It is here for the public. But we're going to get a overview to get a flavor of where we currently stand, and certainly we have department members here to be able to answer any questions.
Did y'all
And I'd just
coordinate
like to-
your dress?
It looks like
Oh
we
my
did.
gosh, y'all did look
Accidental
alike.
matching.
Yes.
So
Call
I'd
that
just
alignment.
like to say before we begin that this is Miss McNulty's first time to present before the board, and I'd just like to thank her for all the work that she put into this.
Thank you, Dr. White. I appreciate that support. Good evening, Board President, Dr. Beluski, Board. It's exciting to be here and meet you, and grateful for the opportunity that you've provided us to just support the schools and just be a part of the team. So thank you very much. And today we are going to take a look at our testing data and just have some conversations about how we're doing and be able to share some insight with you. So as you can see, this is our goal. Our goal is to look at the overview of our district's educational performance, looking at state and national assessments with a focus on our priority schools. We will also talk about assessments such as the ACT, Advancement Placement Test, as well as ACT, Aspire, and WEA. And our goal is also to share some next steps as we support our schools. And I am very nervous, and I don't know why. This is
You shouldn't be nervous at all.
Just
You-
think
But,
you don't bite.
but I'm here.
Don't bite. Go
All
right on ahead.
Oh, thank you.
We
Thank you.
family. Just chill out.
I love it.
Just have a conversation. with
All right, thank you. All right, so let's start with the ACT. So ACT stands for the American College Testing. This is an assessment that we give to our 11th grade students, and typically that happens in the spring, term. Our students are able to take this assessment, and it's an opportunity for them to get scholarships and also to be admitted to school. Typically, the assessment is multiple choice, and students are focused in the areas of English, reading, math, and science. And our district provides this assessment through the paper pencil method. So let's go ahead and take a look at our ACT outcomes. And when you look at this data, one of the things that I will share with you is looking at 2015 and 16, and also moving forward, you will see that the national average has been around 21 to 20. What you'll see is that the state of Arkansas is within the 18 to about, well, still within the 18 point composite score range. Our district, as you can see, looking at North Little Rock High School, as well as the Center of Excellence, for the 21-22 school year ended at 16.9 for the high school and 16.0 composite score. Our goal is how do we allow and work with our students so that we can make that 3 to 4 point gain so our students can compete on the national level. So that is the work that we have ahead of us, and that's the work that we're going to do. This is the breakdown by schools, and it shares with you more than composite scores. So as you can see, for math, this is how our students scored, 16.6, and it goes down to reading, science, English. And so you can see the comparisons between the high school as well as the Center of Excellence. Again, we would like to see the composite score of 20.3. That is our goal. So you did have an opportunity to see how we did on the ACT Aspire. The ACT test. And one of the things that I think is important is introducing our students to those rigorous courses. So that leads us into the advanced placement classes and how that operates. So our advanced placement programs allows our students to really experience those college level studies while they're here at the high school level. It is approved, it's something that we develop, but it's also state approved. And typically at the end of the year, the students have an AP assessment, and if they get a 3 or above, this is an opportunity for students to get a scholarship opportunity or a credit. And so this is important for more of our students to really be engaged in those rigorous courses and understand that, you know, taking those Algebra 1 classes, 2, geometry, trig, looking at physics, biology, all of those areas, and exposure will allow our students to be able to do well. So this is the breakdown of what the trend looks like when we look at our North Little Rock High School and the number of students that have taken the AP assessments. As you can see, we have had a little bit of well, not a little, we have had a drop, quite a drop of our students that are participating in the assessment. But if we focus on the 2021 school year as well as the 2022 school year, what you'll see is that in the 2021 school year, our students were able to, about 102 of those students were able to get a 3 or more on their AP exam. And what I'm loving about this data is looking at the following year, the increase of 39% of our students that actually achieved a score of 3 or more. I think that's something to celebrate. And so we want to continue to see that that positive growth. So that's that 12% is pretty huge. The Center of Excellence also has similar trends. While it is a smaller building, you can see that they've grown the number of students as well. And looking at 2022 and 2021, it's pretty awesome that the students have made a really positive growth as far as the number of students that got a 3 or more on their AP exams. So that 17% is pretty awesome as well. So again, how do we get more of our students to participate and take these courses so that they can be college and career ready? So the next piece that we're going to talk about is our ACT Aspire. So ACT Aspire assesses our students in the areas of English, reading, science, writing, and math. And when we talk about the summative scores and the categories, typically it's a focus of how our students are performing in each of those categories. So when we talk about a student in needs of support, unfortunately that's our lowest scoring students. Close means that they're making progress, but they're just not there at grade level yet. And ready and exceeding means that they're at their benchmark, and exceeding, of course, that means that they are above the expected benchmarks. When we talk about proficiency, as you'll see in the charts ahead, we're talking about students that are scoring at the ready and exceeding level. And we'll also look at some comparisons over time when we look at our assessments, our students that were assessed in 3rd through 10th grade. So this is our ACT Aspire District Proficiency by comparison, looking at the state and our district averages. I think when we look at this information, it's clear to see that we have some intentional work to do. But again, I'm excited because that work has already began, and there's excitement, there's been professional development, and many things happening and more to come to help our students. But in looking at this data, it is tough to look at because the state average, as you can see in math, is 39% proficiency. We are at 23%. So that difference is huge. Looking at reading, 39% for the state, 28% for the district, and also for science, 36, 23. So those, the difference is huge. How do we work hard and make sure that we are getting more of our students to proficiency? We want to beat the state average and also after that be competitive with the national averages. So that's the goal we have ahead of us. Let's talk about our ACT Aspire demographics. And so as you can see, there's a chart that talks about the number of students that we're really talking about when we look at proficiency, and then we can take a look at the demographics there as well. This data is easy to understand, and I know it's tough and it's disheartening because the gaps are there. When we look at our African American students, Black students, they are not making the gains as our white students are, and our Hispanic students are also in the same boat. So when we look at that 33 to 35% gap, that's a concern. And for our Hispanic students, looking at that 29 to 26% gap, it is a concern. The Native Hawaiian and American Indian, those are very small populations, but nonetheless, it's important to show you how they also fared out. But again, we're going to have to be very intentional about the work that we have ahead of us. When we look at our other subpopulations, we are able to see, the areas of concern. Of course, what stands out is our students with special educational needs, so our IEP students. Proficiency there in the single digits is always a concern. However, we do know that they do have needs that we have to support. But our end goal is how can we get more of our students to be proficient and growing. Our ELL students are also in the same boat. And when we talk about Section 504, which is another disability, it's not as strict as IEP, however, it is a legal document and a legal piece that we have to follow to provide students with their accommodations and supports. Those students are also, not doing as well as they should. And then when we look at our district, we do have a high level of poverty. And so we're seeing how our students are doing in that area when we talk about our economically disadvantaged students. I don't think any of us are excited about this data. I feel like I'm the bearer of the bad news. But at the end of the day, I am really excited because I have seen good work happening. And it's also been awesome to watch our administrators and teachers coming back, and they're excited and they're having conversations, they're asking questions, and they're engaged and they want to do better. And I think that is an awesome place to be. So let's take a look at our ACT Aspire. We're going to really focus on these priority schools. At the end of the day, all of our schools are important. So we will be providing support to all schools. However, these schools are in need of even more support, so we're going to have to be very strategic about how we support 7th Street, Boone Park, Ridge Road, Glenview, as well as our 7th and 8th grade campus and our high school. Let's take a look at the data. So this is 7th Street Elementary, their ACT Aspire data. Again, when you look at this information, you can see why it's important that we provide that support. That single digit proficiency is not where we need our students to be, and we've got a lot of work to do looking at our reading, our math, and our science, English as well. So we're going to tackle that work, and we look forward to that opportunity. Boone Park, slightly better, but still in the same boat. We see that they did not make any growth in reading. We see a decline in English. We're seeing that in math, single digit, and science, 1% growth. And so there's definitely some work to do. Ridge Road, as you can see, they did actually make some positive steps forward, which is good. However, again, we believe that this is not enough. We've got to provide more support. Glenview, quite disheartening to see the data. We definitely have to be intentional looking at these single digit performance outcomes. And so we will be working extensively to provide that support there as well. 7th and 8th grade campus, when we look at this data, they did make, of course, a positive step forward in English, but they maintained in reading and went down in science and in math. However, we need to make sure that we are meeting not only the state proficiency, but we've got a lot of work to do. We're not close at all. Looking at the high school, I have to say the high school did really make some nice growth. They did. I'm looking at the positivity here. English, they grew in reading. The state's reading was 3%, so looking at this is pretty good growth. Math as well and science as well. However, when we look at the ACT, if our students are not there, then that means we need to provide more support so that we can have more students be college and career ready. And these are the other schools, and I will not talk about them, but I will share that what you'll see is that there are some positive growth. When we look at the data, some of the schools happen to also meet all national standards, like Crestwood. I think that's important. Indian Hills is making some growth as well. So there are some positive things that we can glean from this report. The 6th grade campus definitely made some nice growth. I think something to celebrate right there. And the next piece that we will discuss is the NWEA K through 2 summative. So the NWEA is an assessment that we provide to our students, and it gives us a lot of information. It is called a Measures of Academic Progress, called MAP. It's given 3 times a year, and it's on time, it's multiple choice, and it's adaptive. So when we talk about it being adaptive, when our students get an answer correct, it pushes the level of rigor up even more. So this gives us a good idea of how to support our students on understanding their zone of proximal development. It is at the K through level 2 level used as a summative. However, for the 3rd through 10th, we use this as an interim predictive assessment. And when I say it's predictive, it definitely is. We can look at the data and we can understand how our students are going to perform on the ACT Aspire, as well as even ACT and even connected to SAT. So it does provide us with a lot of information. It also allows our teachers to be able to know how our students are doing so that they can use that data in real time and really provide instruction to our kids. So in looking at our NWEA data, what you will find, and this was a tough piece. So as we talked about, we're looking at the priority schools. And what you'll find is that our students are entering not at the national norms. It's clear and evident. However, what is concerning is that as they progress from grade level to grade level, that gap increases. So we're looking at anywhere from, especially looking at 7th Street, we're looking at 3 to 5 and then 16 points drop to 20. And so when we talk about how much our students are now growing, they're growing, but just not growing to the extent that they need to grow. And so we've got to do more intentional work there. And that's the commonality that you will find when you see the rest of the slides. Boone Park is in the same boat as well, as you can see, starting off behind the national norms, and then we're not moving our kids as we should. Ridge Road will be in the same boat as well, and I believe when you look at our ACT Aspire data, it's all connected, it's all aligned. Glenview, quite a bit of concern there too. We've got a lot of work to do. Now, I will say overall, when we look at our data, there are all the schools we're making it, when we look at NWEA, they are making growth. It's just not enough. And so the focus is, what are we going to do to make sure that that work is intentional and the professional development that we provide supports our teachers. And so we're excited again about that work. So here's the overall analysis, as you can see. At the elementary level, we have students, as I stated, entering behind the national norms. The outliers happen to be these 3 schools indicated, and you can look at the data from their NWEA as well as ACT Aspire and see why they are outliers. The majority of our students are not making the adequate yearly growth, which is a concern when we look at all of our assessments from NWEA, ACT Aspire, and the ACT. However, even if they're not growing in accordance with the national norms, we do see that there is some growth. So we have to celebrate those things and elevate them to go even further. For ACT Aspire, we were able to see that 10 out of our 13 schools were able to grow 3 out of those 4 categories. So again, that's another positivity to celebrate. And overall, we are seeing some disparities, as we talked about when we look at our subgroups. And when we think about our elementary level, the foundational skills are key. So the things that we do at the elementary level also impacts the middle and the high school, because we're seeing those disparities still as our students enter the secondary area. So at the end of the day, once we understand our historical data and how we need to work intentionally and just be very clear about the work ahead of us. I think that's going to help us transform our system. So do you have any questions for me at this time?
Ms. Person West?
I don't have any questions. Well, yes, I do.
Okay.
What do you think, do you know, or do you even know if, as far as right now, what do you need from us to help you with that? Or like, what could we do to assist or facilitate that with you?
Yes. So let me say first and foremost, for a board member to say, what can we do? I think you're already doing that work. It is amazing that the restructuring process and the support that's been given, and knowing that we cannot continue to do the same things and expect the same results is the powerful piece. And so I think at this point, you've given us a lot of resources, and our goal is to take those resources and really work hard to actualize all the work that needs to go in place and get there and get the job done.
I'm confident in the team.
Awesome. Awesome.
I'm confident in the team. That's
Awesome.
all I have.
Thank you.
Ms. Wonkum?
No questions, but the comment amongst all the schools this week, they're very excited to hear that you guys are analyzing this, realizing where we need to put our focus areas at, where our starting point is going to be, and then where we want to achieve.
Yes.
They're very excited about pulling back some of the testing.
Yeah.
I wish y'all could have heard the hoorahs.
And the gaslight.
Yes. Yes. So,
Makes a
good job.
difference.
Well done.
Thank you.
Ms. Temple?
Yes, I'll agree. It was exciting to see the momentum just spreading throughout. This may sound like a crazy question, but I was looking at the district proficiency by other populations.
Yes.
And the one that, when we have gifted and they're not at their proficiency level, I'm
Yeah.
wondering, how does that happen?
Yeah, I
Explain
used
that
the
to me.
69%, right? Yeah. So that means, intentionality, the work that we do. We want to grow all of our students, and that's the goal. And so this is why it's important for the work of the curriculum team to really continue to take that dive in and understand what is happening and how we're going to strategically address those pieces so all of our students could grow. But you're right.
Yeah. Well, I'm just thinking, are we putting them in there and they're going to struggle because they weren't ready? I guess, I don't know. That surprised me. I mean, but I appreciate all the information.
Absolutely.
If I might add, to speak to your question, Ms. Temple, I think that the work when Ms. McNulty speaks the intentionality, and that is that we are moving to improve the quality of teaching and learning at what we call Tier 1 for all students. So when we're very intentional about what that instructional cycle looks like and the things and the strategies that are utilized, and we line up to the state standards, you will see a difference from the disparities you see by populations, our special education students, and our gifted and talented students. When all children are served at very high levels of rigor, then everyone grows, even our GT students. And so that data should improve when we're just improving teaching and learning at Tier 1.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. McLean?
I love the word intentional. I love it. And I've been listening to Dr. P say it for the last 3 days, several times in his presentation to the different faculty groups. And I'm hearing it tonight from you. And then you've just said it again several times. I love that word. We do have to be intentional about things, or it just goes to the wayside. So that's my comment. I love intentional.
Mr. Steele?
Yes, a couple of questions. Good job, by the way.
Thank you.
I'm glad your other choir members came up and other choir members that came up and joined you. Tell me a little bit about your plans for the priority schools, as you referred to.
All right.
That's a
Am I
great
getting
segue, because
ahead?
that's the next slide. But if you have another question that you want to ask first, that is the next slide. Yes, sir.
Well, what's the correlation between ACT scores and grades? Is that the
You
next
know-
slide? Next slide after the next? I'm getting ahead.
Well, I will say that's, when we talk about the ACT, grades means different everywhere. And so that's why, I hope I'm answering the question in the way that you're seeking, but that's why the ACT is given, because we're testing the same students with the same tools rather than having different protocols on how we grade, because grades can be kind of subjective sometimes. So I know that there's some work that's going to be done in that area as well. But I'm not sure if I answered your question.
Yes.
So.
Mhm.
Okay.
What about those students that have difficulty just with test-taking skills?
Oh.
That's kind of the next level that I was going at with the correlation issue. You may see a kid making A's and B's, but then their ACT is terrible. Is any research or data we're looking at for that? And then maybe
to support them with that
definitely
piece.
did probably direct it with Leanne's section as well. Those kids, I understand, once things are in place for them, they do better, but they have to.
Yeah.
That was the
gonna
slide
sit back.
after
I'm done.
I don't have a question. I just want to say, nervous or not, you did wonderful. You brought the information. You may look at it as you said that it was bad. You brought us bad news, but I'm looking at it as a starting point, because this excitement that you guys have, even with the numbers, looking at it, I already know that the next time you report, it's going to be exciting.
I love it. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes.
I do have one another question that I thought about. What are you have a plan in place to actually in the schools to students, market it to them as it relates to this particular test?
I'm glad you asked that question. I
you
think
gotta
that's
sell
great.
the kids
So,
first.
I'm glad you asked that. So, we have been having coordinators have been visiting schools, and so we've been talking about the school data and what that data means, and the teams have been analyzing it. And so we talked about some of the best practices is to make sure that when our students take the assessments, number one, they understand what they mean and how they're measured, and goal setting with the kids, because if they know what the goals are, then they can actually strive and do better. And I've seen that happen with our students. So that's being intentional, helping them to understand the purpose of the data and the work, and that the test doesn't go away. So how do we help you to understand that this is going to open more doors for you, so you have to take it seriously. So we want accurate data. So I know that the teams and our principals are going to work with our teachers to make sure that we are getting accurate data, and our kids really care about the assessment because it should mean something to them.
So they won't do the A, do the every other.
Yeah.
Then
They need-
if you
yes.
don't know, make Mark C,
Yeah.
Because
We're gonna
I heard this so-called method, and I said, that doesn't work.
Great question.
Take us in.
Okay, Ms. President and board members, Dr. Paluski, thank you for having us as well. So I'm Amy Jordan, the Executive Director of Secondary School Performance, and
I am Tracy Lightfoot, Executive Director of Elementary School Performance. And good evening, Dr. Paluski and Madam President and the board. We are want to share a little bit more, go into more detail on some of those things, the questions that you had about specific things that we are doing, and we're focused in on really the focus area 1, which is our school improvement plans, our curriculum planning and delivery, and our principal support. And we all, Ms. McNulty shared that all of our schools are a priority, but we are focusing in on focus work in our elementary schools would be 7th Street, Boone Park, Glenview, and Ridge Road. You did review some of the data that Ms. McNulty presented to you and see that there is work to be done. But the first step in that work is school improvement plans that are real, and that, yes, they meet a compliance because we turn them in, but they are also a fluid document, and that we are tracking and making goals based on where we want to go from the data. So this data is work that occurs with the directors, with the principals, with the curriculum team, and ultimately drills down to students so they understand their own data, they own it, and so they can be part of the process to move the arrow going up. The curriculum planning piece, you want to go in
Sure
a little
thing.
bit
And
more about that?
I kind of wanted to make an analogy between what Ms. McNulty said is sort of like the doctor giving you a diagnosis, and we're going to work on giving you a prescription. So that's kind of what we're hopefully planning here, to kind of make an analogy, because we're kind of coming in hopefully with the recipe. And the recipe actually, the prescription echoes what Dr. Paluski has said 15 times at these different campuses, which is that goal number 1 is to have a rigorous and relevant curriculum and experience for these children to learn. So you're going to hear the same words that you heard in those presentations. At the secondary level, the academic campuses that we're going to focus on include the 7th and 8th grade campus, the high school, and also the academy. The data wasn't pulled necessarily for the academy, but they're still a focus point for us. And so those plans, like Ms. Lightfoot said, are going to tie into that data that you've just seen. The curriculum planning, along with the curriculum department, so we're like 3 legs of one stool. We all work together. So they've created the pacing calendars, scope and sequence documents, as well as we've redesigned the instructional minutes, so what the literacy block looks like and what the math block looks like from pre-K to 12. So that's been redesigned and iterated to all campuses. And so we're going to talk a little bit about the principal support in a second, but we know that piece. We all see the puzzle, and we're going to put those pieces together. And then Ms. Lightfoot will finish those last ones.
So with the curriculum delivery, I think that you will hear terms quite often. You will hear it from me. Hopefully you will hear it from your principals. We look urgent because we are urgent. So maximizing instructional time from beginning. This bell-to-bell instruction is where we set the table. So our content team and the instructional support has gone in from the beginning. We have loaded all of our documents. Our teachers are planning and working for them from them now, asking a lot of questions, and the support went in through the week to help them and to support them with the documents that they were looking at. So I would say we have set the table now. The foundations have been set. So we have a pacing document that will pace us from the beginning to the end, aligned to the state standards. We also have a scope and sequence that we know we are teaching, and we are aligned to all the standards that we really must hit until we test at the end. And then the instructional block has been whittled down, or laser-like focus on the minutes, and we've also carved out time for important science. Science is important, and it has not really been present if we just devote time to it and teach it. We can't help but to grow. So with that being said, we are changing a mindset in our district, and that is we're not teaching to programs. We are teaching to the state standards. And so in that is an evolution, that again, that foundation, and that we're being intentional in what we say, what we speak, what we write, everything that our teachers here, our principals here, and our students here, is that we are learning. Teaching and learning is aligned to the standards and not to programs, and all the documents that have been developed speak to that. So finally, the administrator professional growth plans will be tied to their needs based on those, the ESSA indicators. And the directors will be available from beginning to, with that work, with their school improvement plans. And what does that look for? Help everyone understand what teaching and learning that is aligned to state standards looks like and sounds like. And we look urgent because we are urgent.
Questions for us?
Mr. Steele?
No questions.
Ms.
Good job.
McLean?
So our school improvement plans are going to look different. You know, there's a young adult author, S.E. Hinton, that wrote a book a long time ago. That was then, this is now.
Well said, Ms. McLean.
Stay
Well
gold,
said.
Pony Boy.
So, yeah, I think that's what we're going to see with the school improvement plans. There's going to be a change in the way that they look and read and sound and what they do.
Yes,
So I like that. You got to start there for sure. So I had a testing question too that I didn't ask, so maybe I can still address Ms. McNulty. What about our preschool kids at Pikeview? Is there any testing that goes on there?
There is testing actually.
You have Miss Chris.
Mm-hmm.
What a curriculum.
Testing that goes on in pre-K.
Come on up, Miss Chris.
I didn't know I was on the agenda.
Miss Chris, if you would-
Always ready.
Miss Chris, if you would just state your name and your
Yes.
position, please.
I'm Pamela Chris. I am the Early Childhood Coordinator, Pre-K 2. And Pre-K, they are so excited. I told Dr. White this morning that we have developed a scope and sequence for the first time for Pre-K, where they're actually looking at essential standards. And the teachers, the feedback that I'm getting from the teachers is like, this is the first time we've been waiting on this. They have a lesson plan. And I'm looking at that equity piece, that we're in it together. It's no one school is doing one thing and another school is doing another thing. When I go to Amboy, I go to Pikeview, essential standards should be taught, the same essential standards, different delivery in the classroom, but it's all going to be the same, and they are so excited. So they do have an assessment. They have the brigands, and they're also doing work sampling. And we also going to create little mini CFAs for our babies because they can still be assessed over phoneme, grapheme, letter sounds. Yes.
Did you say C? What'd you say?
Oh, common formative assessments.
Oh, okay.
So if they learn a letter and a sound, we want to make sure that that's solid, because that is what has been missing, that our students are not holding that to the automaticity level. So they are just memorizing words. So that's something I'm going in with the K2 teachers and saying, we have to plan intentional, that's that word again, for phonics and phonological awareness.
So will there be an inclusion of the testing that occurs at the preschool when we have other testing presented?
Oh, yes.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thank you
Yes.
very much. You answered my question greatly.
Ms. Temple?
I don't have any questions, I'm just loving the team.
Ms. Wonkum?
No questions.
Ms. West?
I don't have any questions. I have an observation, I guess, if you will, that, everybody is pretty much using the same buzzwords, and I love it. That means that it goes back to I always like to use the analogy of the movie Drumline, when he says one band, one sound, the band director, and it just makes me think of that, and I just feel so excited, and I'm just ready to see, everybody learning what they need to get to make it in this world. So I'm excited. Thank you.
On the programs, I love the fact that, we realize that there are programs, they're not the standards. Will it, in the process, will you look at and identify some of the programs that we paid for and continue to pay for are not being utilized, identify those so that we can stop paying for them?
Yeah, I would say, and that's under kind of Dr. White's leadership, one of the things that we've asked the curriculum team to do is get an assessment on that, is to really find out what are all of the programs that we're using, how much are we spending on that, what kind of usability, especially if it's electronic, so we can figure out what's being used and what's not, cut out and save and redirect that money towards our priorities.
Awesome. Other than that, I'm so excited. Your enthusiasm, it rubs off, and I'm just excited.
If I may, Madam President and members of our Board of Education, I would just like to thank all of you for allowing us to hire these talented leaders. I think you can see they're truly experts. And here's the other thing that I love. The entire curriculum team is here to support each other. And I think that says a lot about that entire curriculum team. And I appreciate Dr. Hooper's leadership, our executive directors, and our coordinators. And I concur, as we've been out, people are feeling supported and know that the support is here to help them. So I thank all of you for allowing us to hire these talented individuals.
I got chills. And we thank you for going on the road with us. It was an opportunity for us to get to know you, but it was also a great thing for people in your district to see their trustees that are standing behind them and in front of them. And so it was our pleasure. We're happy to be here.
Greg Paluski in the background singers.
Thank you all. Oh, got Miss
I
Dr.
was about to
Stoll.
say Alexander myself.
Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Polisky, Dr. Stoll, my new name. I got it now. I finally got it down because he's been introducing me at every single faculty meeting. So they're all reminding me of my name. I wanted to tell y'all exactly this group, the curriculum team, I'm a part of it. I'm at every meeting. They're including special ed, which is so exciting. Our tagline is special education is a service. It is not a place where you put students. And so I just want to say that I'm a part of the curriculum team, and all of our people are included. Change is coming in special education as well. As you've seen me coming behind you in the meetings, I'm going in and we're doing inclusive practices. I'm going to do a whole presentation for the board on inclusive practices. It's coming from the state. But basically, our special education students will be fully included in regular education classes with support from special ed so that they are in there for those state standard core teaching, because the potential is there for our students to grow even more. If you think about a resource student, when they're pulled out for resource early on, they're learning at a slower pace while the regular class is going ahead with those state standards. They're still learning, but they're not reaching their full potential. So I have a whole presentation for you on that. And we didn't want to do that tonight because Dr. Hooper limited our time. And she's going to give me...
In her defense, the board limited her time.
The board limited. So I'm going to get on the agenda for September or October so you can hear that whole presentation. But that is the plan for, there's a lot coming and changing for special ed. And even though those numbers look a little despairing, while our students aren't going to some will make proficiency, we made huge growth. And that gives us points. That gives the schools points. So don't be discouraged when you see that our growth, we had a little bit of growth. We had growth K through 12 last year in every special education grade, which is amazing when you think about students with disabilities. So I don't want you to be discouraged by those numbers, and great things are coming. We have big plans, but it's a whole nother presentation. My other piece to tell you about is that our students that are significantly cognitively impaired, their numbers are not included in those scores. They take an alternate assessment. It's called dynamic learning maps. The state has kind of buckled down on the criteria to take that. So used to, all of our self-contained students got to take that alternate assessment. That is no more. So there is a IQ score of 55. So if a student has a 55 or lower, they are considered significantly cognitively impaired. And then they can be alternately assessed and not in that ACT Aspire. However, if they fall above that, then they are being tested with the students in ACT Aspire. So again, with that inclusion, those students that are in self-contained that are taking ACT Aspire, they need to be in the regular classroom for those grade level content standards-based lessons with the rigor. So we have been going out, we're changing the culture. I've been preaching the culture to all these schools, and so far we've had a lot of great response. We haven't made it to all the schools yet. We've got about 4 elementary schools still to go to. But I want you to see the presentation as well, because it'll change your mind. This is what my dissertation was on, but the state is now mandating this. So there's a lot of research, a lot of good stuff coming out. And our curriculum coordinators that have come to us from Texas and Florida, they've been doing this for about 5 years in those states. So we're behind the times in Arkansas, but it's statewide. And Little Rock School District's doing it full blown this year. So my counterpart, Ms. Cassandra Steele, is going to try it out, and then she's guiding me through the process. So we're doing a few schools this year. You'll see our 9th grade academy fully included this year. The academy, North Little Rock Academy, they are fully included this year. Ridge Road, they received a big grant. We recognize them for it. They're getting a lot of support from Solution Tree. They're going to be full inclusion. Boone Park is a little bit, they're doing partly inclusion, But next year, grades 6th grade and down have to be fully included with the state's plan. So that's what I want to present to the board. So a lot of big things coming, so that's how special ed is going to support those test scores. I'm really excited about that. So I really didn't give you as much information about the alternate assessment, other than my next 2 slides are about that, and I'm paraphrasing. Ms. Dott's not here, and she'd be happy to hear me say that. So I'll let you read those other 2 slides on your own, and then you'll see me again in the next month or 2 when we have time, so that you can hear the full plan. And thank you.
Thank
Any
you.
questions
Thank you.
for me? I don't want to get up and leave before.
I don't have any questions. You know, I love the fact that we, you know, make sure that all of our students are included and that we have something that's catered and geared for everyone. And, you know, Ms. Williams in here, but she always quotes that Sam Cooke, change is gonna come, so it's coming.
It's coming.
It's here.
It's here.
I'm all set.
Mr. Steele?
No questions.
We're good.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Stoll.
See you next time.
Okay. Good evening, Madam President, Dr. Paluski, board members. So, you know, we talked about being intentional this evening, and I want to tell you that the curriculum department is very intentional. And I'm going to ask them to please come up here with me.
The-
Come on down.
Be always ready.
I'm going to move over here. Have a seat. I'm going to ask the curriculum coordinators, our content area coordinators, to have a seat, please.
Here, you, yeah,
This
you
is
can leave
very
that-
impromptu.
you can leave that one.
I thought they were going to sing or something.
So one of the things that we're doing in the unit is a comprehensive needs assessment. And we know that we have the audit findings, but what we discovered is that when you look at the ACT Aspire data, the NWEA data, what happens is most of the times we're not drilling down into skills. And so I can tell you that these ladies up here have been drilling down to the skill level. And what they're doing now is creating their 30-day plans for supporting schools. And so I just like for them to very quickly tell the board about what they're finding in drilling down that low into finding out the deficits and the needs of our buildings.
I'm Marla Edwards. I'm elementary math coordinator. I was so excited about 2 days ago that I ran down the 7th Street hallway to Dr. White's office to tell her thank you. Well, first of all, to tell her I didn't like her for a little bit when we were doing this data deep dive because it was a lot of work. But then thank you, because if I hadn't done that, I wouldn't have made the discovery that I did. So I was looking through some essential standards that have been identified by the district last school year. Before last school year. And I found that there were complete strands of our standards that are not marked as essential standards. So for an example, in 3rd grade, there are no geometry standards listed in our essential standards. Found the same thing in 4th grade. I went to the data that I had already looked at and created some charts for, and realized that guess what our lowest scoring skills are in 3rd grade? Geometry. What is our lowest scoring skill in 4th grade? The one that is not covered by our essential standards. So if I had not dug into that data the way Dr. White asked us to, I would never have figured that out. Probably no one would, because we have never looked that closely. And that was just an epiphany for me, and then of course that leads to more work, but that's what we're here for.
Madam President, Dr. Paluski, School Board, Agnes Cruz, I'm the coordinator for secondary literacy. I think we all agree about this task that we were handed, and the more we dug into it, the more clear the picture became for me as a secondary person in English, reading, and all that. I found that when we looked at our data, it was a lot of, we have everything, we have the components, we have everything here, but it was taught in isolation. So I found that a lot of the skills that the kids are missing are being taught in isolation. So part of the plan that she has us is in my 30-day plan, what I intended is just go in there and see a lesson. How are they teaching the standards? Also, when they identify the essential standards, much like Marla's experience, again, isolation. We learn key ideas, main ideas, key details, text structure since 3rd grade. They learn it all the way to 12th grade. That is in every essential standard out there. What we are missing is the depth of that standard. And we talked about programs earlier. Our big plan is to help them see that those programs are a resource. We're teaching the standard. We're using this resource. And instead of teaching all our kids right here, we have to meet them where they're at. An example, they can't read the text in the book. Find a level reader. Make them feel successful. Okay, you read 1 paragraph today. Tomorrow you're going to read me 3 because you did this. And build them up so we can get them to where they need to be at grade level. So that's the plan right now. Go there, observe. As says, we've been at the schools a lot, sort of telling everybody we're here. Use us, tell us what to do. And that's basically what we're looking at.
Madam President, Dr. Paluski and board, it's a pleasure to be here. I will concur with Ms. Chris that this was, I did not realize we were on the agenda. We were here to support, but it's all good because we have been doing a lot of research with the data, with things that have happened in the past, and what we're looking for moving forward. And one of the main things in the data, I'll be a little more specific in one of the details that has been my driving force in terms of the rigor of our curriculum and how we're presenting, delivering the curriculum. And one of the main things in looking at the results of the data and the skills, most of the skills, the weakest are the level of thinking, the critical level. So the questioning comes into the DOK level, and that's a focus on my 30-day plan, and obviously will continue on, is to address the level of questioning within the classrooms, to get our students to really not just memorize an answer, but be able to explain the answer and be able to have that mathematical discourse to really dig deep and use that level of thinking to apply outside of. And then when it's no longer a memorization, the testing piece falls in place because they have a full understanding of the concepts. And so they're able to answer a variety of questions and apply them to real world things. And I really feel like 6 through 12, well, 6th grade is still using the Eureka, but 7 through 12, I've really been pushing the Envision. I appreciate the support, and the question came, all these resources we're purchasing, and we want to see these take place. I'm super excited because that's a big push from 7 to 12 in the math department. We're going to be using Envision, the rigor of the curriculum, the expectation for our students, and the level of thinking that will be required. It's tough, but that's where we want our students to be. So it's going to be a process at the beginning. We have to be patient. But if we get our students starting that curriculum and they're seeing it year after year after year, we're going to be creating some dynamic things within our test scores, I strongly believe, because the rigor is there. And to be successful, they're going to have to expand their level of thinking to not just spouting out answers, but understanding the concepts. So it's exciting.
Good evening, everyone. Madam President, Dr. Paluski, Board. My name is Carmen Langston. I am the coordinator of elementary reading. As I began my data deep dive, one disparity that I found was between, for our 3rd through 5th grade students on the ACT Aspire, that they were scoring far better on the English portion than they were on the reading portion. And so that led me to think, what's going on here? Because those should go hand in hand. So what I'm finding is that they're doing well with those grammar and structure pieces, but they're not doing well with the reading comprehension piece. And as we look back with those 3rd through 5th grade students, those students did not receive the foundational reading pieces in their K through 2 grades because the science of reading training was just reaching Arkansas when those students were in those lower grades. So there are some gaps there in their learning that we are having to shore up. So we will be coming to you again in the near future to talk about some purchasing of some decodable texts for our older readers because they do not have those foundational skills that they need to read on grade level. So that is something that we'll be talking to you about in the future. But in the meantime, just in very plain speak, my 30-day plan is to be in schools, working right alongside teachers, coaching them and leading job-embedded training, whether that be during their plan time or just right there in the classroom, right alongside them, and ensuring that they do understand the science of reading and how we shore up those foundational skills for our older students.
Hello again. I dug deeply into the K2 data, and I told Dr. White I was up to like 2 o'clock in the morning because it was just like, ugh. And I already knew the problem. The problem is, the standards, and teachers have really applauded growth, but they have not really looked at the achievement growth piece of it. So growth could be this, but achievement could be there. So when you make those minimal, increments in growth, but the achievement is still there, students are still getting further and further behind. And it's kind of like building a house on a shaky foundation. And K2, if you don't get those foundational skills, what's going to happen? I tell teachers when I'm training, they could go up the stairs, and what's going to happen? They're going to fall back downstairs. So in K2, I'm going to be really, there's that word again, intentional on those foundational standards, because when you get to 3rd, 4th, and 5th, on the standards, on their standards, you would see it states taught in 2nd grade, taught in 1st grade, taught in kindergarten. So our 5th grade students are still having to get skills that are in for 2nd grade. So that gap is a 3-year gap. So I'm going in, really getting teachers to understand standards. What does that mean when you're looking at phonics? Don't carry around that book. I want them to plan, here's that word again, intentional. I mean, it needs to be more purposeful. And I think that we need to build that capacity with our teachers, because a lot of times I'm finding that it's not that they are not, sometimes it's just the knowledge piece of it. I can't teach what I don't know. So with that piece, that's where I want to close the gap.
Thank you all. So we're going to continue to be intentional in that. Our CNA, we're not done yet. We're going to go into the classrooms, we're going to gather data, and we're going to keep refining our plans. The next piece, of course, you all received a copy of the audit. We've looked through it. As well. And so one of the recommendations was for us to create a curriculum management plan. And so we'll do that, and that's going to basically be our framework for developing our curriculum, monitoring it, revising it, providing support to teachers. The next piece is PD. And of course, the executive directors of school performance, they mentioned PD. We've been involved in PD this week as well. And one of the things that we have coming up is the science of reading PD. We've reached out to schools to ask them, what are their needs around the science of reading, and we'll push out, hopefully, our own homegrown RISE Academy in September. And then the next piece is high quality instructional materials. And I mentioned this a couple weeks ago when I came before you, that we got to make sure that we have a framework for determining those resources and getting those resources into all the hands of teachers and students. The next piece is instructional support resources. You heard from the executive directors about some resources. So we've pushed out resources within a Google Classroom, and you all will have access to those codes this Friday. So that if you want to click and go in there, play around, you can certainly do that, and you can see what we're providing to schools. And the last piece is around data and analysis. As Ms. McNulty said tonight, there's a lot of data. We are exposed to a lot of data. We are data rich, but sometimes information poor, and that we don't know how to use the data. And so what we'll do is we'll make sure that we have formal processes in our schools for determining how we use that data. So we'll be working through that. Also, Ms. Wonkum, you mentioned about the assessments and the fact that we have eliminated some assessments we have another follow-up meeting tomorrow with district leaders to talk about our district assessment calendar and some of the assessments that we are eliminating. And yes, teachers are happy. We realized we were over-assessing our students. And then Dr. Paluski mentioned the programs earlier, so that piece is coming. We did a program analysis as well. We've got to follow up with that and then determine what programs are just not working that we can eliminate. So that's basically, in a nutshell, the work of the curriculum team. I'm happy to take any questions.
Ms. West?
I just applaud all of you all for your hard work and your deep dives and just getting ready and getting prepared to get all of our children up to part. Miss Chris, did you come from Little Rock?
Yes.
Okay, because I've talked to 2 people that say you are absolutely brilliant. And the third person, of course, would be my mother, which they have pulled back out of retirement again, back into a classroom. And
Miss Langston's from, we stole her from Little Rock too.
oh, wow. But when I mentioned your name, my mom just went, oh my gosh, she is the best. And whatever y'all have her doing, they will get it done. So I'm just excited about this new year coming up, and I'm excited to see some growth and some improvement. That's what we have.
I don't have any questions, but I'm excited. The word intentional, yeah, it's a buzzword, but at the same time, the moment that we're going to show our parents what we can do, what we have done, the moment that we show our city what we have done, I can't wait. I cannot wait.
I just want to say I appreciate all the deep dive, and I know that's a lot of work, and I know it's like eating an elephant, but guys, I'm loving it. Thank you so much.
Maybe I need to come out of retirement and go back
We do have 7 vacancies, just to clean.
in. Y'all make me want to go back to work. Everything y'all are saying is just so on spot. I love it. And I know the teachers do. And I mean, I've been hearing y'all are going in those classrooms. You're going to be right there with the teachers. And trust me, they want you there. I always hear, this is speaking from my past experience, we'd hear things about, oh yeah, y'all are going to be there for us, and then we don't see you again till the professional development day in February. So I'm hoping that y'all do get in those classrooms with those teachers and work with them, and we're going to see improvement. I love y'all. Thank you.
Mr. Steele?
Yeah, I think you should go back and take Ms. Bynum with you. Maybe Ms. Bynum.
Right.
Great job, great job. My question is, I really, with all this excitement and enthusiasm, I think that's wonderful. But just remember, Rome wasn't built in a day. And, you know, I think, Mr. Superintendent, that, you know, I would encourage you just to really look at short-term achievable goals and really keep everyone focused on those goals. Of course, even this board don't have to know all of that information, but the information that we should know, you know, let us know, and then when we reach those benchmarks, you know, then we can recognize those benchmarks. But more of an indication, hey, we are moving in the right direction. You know, everybody wants to compare us to the state average. I understand that. But this state is so diverse and so different. You know, we had what Northwest Arkansas has as far as the infrastructure, the resources, and so forth. Things may be different. I think the biggest thing we need to look at is how much do we improve, and how do we get better, and really learn to look at that and celebrate that and appreciate that. I think somebody said, I think it was yourself. I can't see your name. I'm sorry.
Ms. Cruz.
Yes, about reading one paragraph. Oh, yeah. Read that paragraph. So many of our young people, all over, they're just so embarrassed that they can't. So they hide it. They cover it up. And then they move on to the next grade and they cover it up. And then you have a person that has not achieved, who make up some of these statistics that we're talking about. So, you know, I really like that, meeting them where they are, and then trying to pull them forward. Thank you.
For me, ditto on everything that was said. I'm just so in awe, and I'm excited. You guys, like I said, it rubs off. I believe it starts from the top down, and when the top is excited, everybody else is excited, and so Thank you, Dr. P.
Well, when you
Thank you,
have
Dr.
no
Rose.
head, all you have is dangling feet. Quoted by our wonderful Dorothy Williams.
So, thank you, guys.
Thank you all. We appreciate your leadership.
Thank you.
Good job, Dr. White.
We are down to action items. I will entertain a motion for 11.1, employment of personnel.
Madam President,
Yes.
I so move that we accept the employment of personnel that Dr. Paluski recommended.
Second.
It has been properly moved that we accept the personnel, employment of personnel recommended by Dr. Paluski. It being personnel, there can be no discussion, so all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It has been adopted. We can do 11.2, 11.3, and 11.4 together.
Madam President,
Yes, ma'am.
I so move that we accept the disposition of the minutes on July 21st, August 4th, and August the 11th.
Second.
It has been moved and properly second that we approve the disposition of regular meetings July 21st, August the 4th, and August the 11th. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It has been adopted. Consent
Madam
agenda.
President,
Yes.
I move we approve the consent agenda, item 12.1, 12.2, 12.3, 12.4, 12.5, and 12.6.
Second.
It has been properly moved that we approve the consent agenda, which includes 12.1, bank reconciliation, 12.2, monthly financial report, 12.3, business office items, 12.4, payment of regular bills, 12.5, facilities use, and 12.6, approval of the that's the whole consent agenda. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It has been adopted. Future meetings. The next board meeting will be Tuesday. We have a board workshop,
Yes, a budget workshop.
budget. Tuesday, August the 30th at 5:30. Then we have our board workshop is Thursday, September 1st. And then our regular scheduled board meeting, September 15th at Thursday. I will happily entertain a motion to adjourn.
Madam President,
Yes.
I'll make a motion that we adjourn for tonight.
Second.
Let's have a great